Idiocracy clip shows what you will be covering 1,000 years. Okay, let's get started. President Trump and UK Prime Minister Stalin. Okay, UK Prime Minister Keir Stalin in a bilateral meeting.
We have Russia, we have Ukraine. I think we're very well advanced. I think Russia has been acting very well. We have Representatives Steve Witkoff and Scott and Marco and JD. We're all involved. Everyone.
My goat, Steve Goatkoff.
And a lot more. But I think we're very well advanced on a deal, but we have not made a deal yet. So I don't like to talk about peacekeeping until we have a deal. I like to get things done. I don't want to give it the bad luck sign. We don't want to do that. But we've had very good talks with Russia, and we've had very good talks, as you know, with Ukraine. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, does the Prime Minister have to choose a closer relationship with the EU as he is seeking and a good trade relationship with you? Which one should you go for?
Well, I think we have just a great relationship. We actually had a good relationship before. We've met a couple of times. I'm very impressed with his wife, I must say. She's a beautiful, great woman. And I said you're very lucky. He's very lucky. And no, we've had a very good relationship.
Let's see if Keir sucks him off more than Macron. Oh, 100%. That's not even a question. Keir is omega cucked because Macron is French. So as a Frenchman, he's always going to have like a sense of elitism and an opinion that like Anglophones are limited in their behavior, in their culture. Anglophones are lesser. Okay. Having said that, however, Keir Starmer not only is British, so he's auto-cucked. That's just how it is. But also is a particularly servile individual too. So I think Keir is a craven, cowardly individual to begin with, and he's British. Like he's not a particularly charismatic person. He's really the worst type of person to talk to Donald Trump. It's Sir Keir Starmer to you. Yes, yes. Might I share two good news involving you, please? First, thanks to my Hasanabi Clips channel, I finally got monetized, and I'm going to keep grinding. Yesterday, we had our first Creatives Union meeting, and next meeting, we're setting up a charter. You were the inspo for this. Thanks for constantly encouraging us. Hell yeah. Keir tried to do the same as Macron, fact-checking him on EU-Ukraine aid, but it was Rizless. Yeah, Keir also is like incredibly uncharismatic. Macron is married to a pedophile, and Kid Starter is friends with pedophiles. That's true. But they're European politicians. Also, American politicians also have obviously direct involvement with pedophiles too. I mean, look at fucking Jeffrey Epstein, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So like, who amongst these people is not like in one way, shape, or form directly involved with a pedophile? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, Tate Brothers. We got that going on too. It's become a very weird like political movement. On the gaming side, a lot of gamers made bigger titties in video games like this unashamed political movement for themselves, right? They try to hit that from the angle of like censorship and talk about how like if we don't have bigger titties in video games, if I can't like sweatily jerk off to every video game that I play, then, you know, this is a genocide. And basically a lot of other content creators and you know, just like right-wing people demonstrating right-wing ideology have actively talked about like undermining age of consent laws for some weird reason. And I don't understand it. Like we are not only getting dumber, but we're getting grosser as well. It truly has made me anti-gooner. Despite the fact that I was almost always a pro-gooner kind of guy, these past couple of years, I think has definitely changed my attitude a little bit because like we are devolving. Like I can't even joke about it anymore because I don't want fucking people to think I'm like those weirdos, you know? Anyway.
He's worried about Britain potentially undoing some of the benefits of Brexit by seeking a closer tie with the EU, who you said was set up to screw
No, I don't
the
worry about that.
United
I thought, frankly, what they did was the right thing at the time, and I think that'll probably prove out over the centuries. You have a long time to go, but I think I predicted that was going to happen, and it did happen, and it'll work it out. I think it's already worked itself out. Yes.
Mr. President, can I ask on Chagos, Mr. President? Keir Starmer has signed a deal to give away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Will you approve that deal?
Well, we're going to have some discussions about that very soon, and I have a feeling it's going to work out very well. They're talking about a very long-term, powerful.
There's some suspicion that after talking to all these European leaders and also getting this, the mineral rights, the mineral extraction rights from Ukraine, that Donald Trump is going to do a big dump of weapons to Ukraine to continue the fun, right? I don't know if that will actually happen, but it also wouldn't shock me. I would say that Donald Trump actively saying he's pro-Russia over and over again has been more shocking than Donald Trump continuing the Ukrainian resistance to the best of their ability narrative. Even the fact that he was saying, like, we're going to take all the minerals and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that in and of itself is all that shocking. That's just Donald Trump doing Donald Trump. He softened his tone on Zelensky today since he's coming tomorrow. He said he didn't remember calling him a dictator. Yeah. I mean, that's also classic Trump. If you remember anything from the previous administration when he was president, he would always like say some unhinged things, and then the more reasonable adults around him would be like, oh, he didn't mean it. Like Steve Witkoff, from what I understand, literally went around and was like, yeah, no, he's just saying like he wants to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, but like it's just to get the conversation started, you know? He doesn't mean it. He just wants to get the conversation started. It's just a prank. He's just pro-ethnically cleansing Palestinians from the Gaza Strip as a way to get the other surrounding Arab coalition partners to get more involved in the conversation, as though they haven't been involved thus far. You know?
Lease, a very strong lease, about 140 years actually. That's a long time, and I think we'll be inclined to go along with your country. Yeah, I think it's sounded. It's a little bit early. We have to be given the details, but it doesn't sound bad. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you obviously can do business with our Prime Minister Keir Starmer. You said yesterday that the EU was constructed to screw the US when it comes to trade. What can our Prime Minister say to you to persuade you not to impose tariffs on the United Kingdom?
Yeah, did I use the word that you said, that bad word?
I think so.
Well, I think that the EU, I've had problems with the EU because, and we're not talking about, we happen to have a great relationship with you, but we do have problems with the EU because they've tariffed us. They do it in the form of a VAT tax, which is about 20%, and many other taxes. They sue our companies. They sued Apple.
Wait, what? Dude, the value-added tax is not... Wait, what? The VAT doesn't... What? First of all, that's not... That's... What? Is he trying to, like, redefine European tax policy in general? Like, what is going on? VAT is not applicable to just imported goods. What are you saying? Or specifically American goods? VAT is across the board. It's literally in the name. It is value-added tax. Like, am I misunderstanding something? Did he misspeak, or does he just truly not understand how value-added tax works? Like, but this definition is sales tax is a tariff. I mean, the problem with okay, if VAT was only applicable to American goods, then technically he wouldn't be wrong, I guess, in terms of the impact, because it would potentially lower the amount of American goods that are being purchased, because American goods would be more expensive. Okay, and that's precisely how a tariff works as well. A tariff is going to increase the cost of goods that are coming in, because at the point of when the middleman is purchasing the goods, at the point of entry into the country, they're paying an additional fee, which automatically increases the cost. Okay, and that cost will always be carried over to the consumer. So a tariff can be seen as a sales tax. The difference is the VAT taxes that he's talking about are they're not specific to the United States goods. They're not specific to goods coming just from the United States. It's not country specific at all. It's all goods. It's just another form of regressive taxation. The value added tax is pretty simple. It's in the name. When you're purchasing something, there is a percentage fee applied to that at the point of purchase. Okay? VAT victory over America tax. Yeah. It also is added to domestic goods as well. The argument is that the tax is due by importers and not at the end of the chain by the customer. VAT is due imports on the EU and elsewhere, unlike in the United States, where sales tax only applies in the final transaction in the chain. This could deter an importer of U.S. goods who would be stuck with a VAT bill by the time their goods arrive. Okay, but it's not specific to American goods. A tariff is specific to goods coming in, either specific to a good that has, like, in normal circumstances, a competitive domestic manufacturing opportunity, or goods coming, in the way that Trump is using it, from individual countries. A value-added tax is across the board. At least as far as I understand it, it has been in the EU across the board. It's like for domestic goods as well. So I don't know why Reuters is trying to play catch up with Donald Trump, and I don't know why Reuters is trying to play catch up with Donald Trump and trying to make his sentiment make sense when it very clearly is wrong. "40 seconds in."
We haven't. The EU's been very nasty. It's just been, they haven't treated us properly.
This country does not charge tariffs on U.S. goods, so it's not clear what's next for Canada. But Trump now appears to be going after sales taxes, like the GST, or Europe's value-added tax, VAT.
Well, what they are now is they have a 20% VAT tax, which we're considering to be similar or the same as the tariff.
Even though Trump's tariff...
Why are they sane-washing him? This is an objectively incorrect... Am I crazy? Like, this is an objectively incorrect statement. No, you cannot... Dude, he's interfering with tax policy of other countries. This goes beyond trade. He's like, no, I want everyone else to also be a libertarian paradise. What is happening? Is this the final stage of, like, global neoliberalism? Donald Trump is interfering in foreign markets and their own personal sales taxes and whatnot in an effort to make sure that their coffers are dry, and then, you know, his buddies can come in and purchase all of those underfunded public sectors. Is that what is going on? Like, is that what's happening here? He said, fuck the IMF, fuck the World Bank. I'm sidestepping everything. I'm just using big dick American trade and also our mighty military and global hegemonic superpower status to do this one last thing where, if you want to fucking fill your coffers to pay for social safety nets, even if you don't have currency sovereignty, for example, and you actually do need to tax your citizenry in order to have these beneficial, expansive social safety nets, I'm coming after it. I want you to literally become a poorer country. I want your public sectors to be robbed blind so that my billionaire buddies can come in and purchase them and privatize them by force. Is he talking about VAT or sales tax? It's both 19% in Germany, for example. Is he confusing them? I'm so confused. No, reach? I don't think that's reach. I'm trying to explain. First of all, that's not a reach. That's not a cap. Donald Trump is objectively wrong. And he also is personally saying he sees a value-added tax as a form of tariff. It's not. He also is not even correct about tariffs to begin with.
Tariff threat is now
I can't believe this is the one, dude, this is like kind of boring in general. This is like a kind of boring part of this conversation. And it also doesn't make any sense whatsoever that he's like, this is what he's chosen to do. But like a tariff can be, a tariff will have costs carried over to the consumer and can be seen as like a sales tax or a value-added tax, if you want to consider it that. The difference, however, is that a tariff is either industry-specific, sector-specific, good-specific, or country-specific. A value-added tax is across the board, unless you have exemptions. And I don't think these countries have, exemptions for domestically manufactured goods that can avoid VAT taxes versus fucking American goods that get slapped with a VAT.
With members of the G7. Tomorrow, the progress toward peace will continue when President Zelensky visits the White House. He'll be here tomorrow in the early part of the day, and we'll be signing a historic agreement that will make the United States a major partner in developing Ukraine's minerals and rare earths and oil and gases, and we have a great understanding. I think it's going to be great for Ukraine. We're going to be at the site, and we'll be digging. We'll be digging. Dig we must. A big utility in New York, Con Edison, they used to have a sign, dig we must, and we will be digging. But much of the European aid to Ukraine has been sent in the form of loans for which they expect to be paid back, and we didn't have that honor under the Biden administration. He sent money, or just sent it, money after money after money, and never had any knowledge of ever seeing it back. Maybe $300 to $350 billion, but under the breakthrough agreement, very unusual, which everyone said was difficult to get, but it's really very good for Ukraine and very good for us. The American taxpayers will now effectively be reimbursed for the money and hundreds of billions of dollars poured into helping Ukraine defend itself, which by and of itself is a very worthy thing to do. We've paid far more than any other country, and with most of our support, it's been paid in military, the finest weapons anywhere in the world. This includes vast amounts of military hardware, ammunition, and various other things that we now have to start rebuilding our own stockpiles. Additionally, the minerals agreement will provide the basis for a more sustainable future relationship between the United States and Ukraine, and thus stimulate the long-term prosperity that will help the Ukrainians rebuild their country. It's been demolished, and the ruined infrastructure. The infrastructure, as you know, is in very bad shape. In just over 1 month, our administration has already achieved more progress toward peace than years in the other administration where they did nothing toward peace. They didn't understand what was happening. Our approach is basically common sense. As I said, so many of the things that we do are based on common sense. If you want peace, you have to talk, both sides. As I discussed with Prime Minister Starmer, the next step we're making is toward a very achievable ceasefire. We hope that that can happen. happen quickly because thousands of young people, in this case, we're not talking about Americans, we're talking about Ukrainians and Russians are being killed every week, thousands. And it's a rough battlefield. It's a flat piece of land, and the bullet only stops when it hits somebody. And this week, I saw the reports, and it's I don't even want to say what they are, but thousands of people, young, vibrant people died. And we want to stop that. Senseless. Should have never happened. This will lay the groundwork for a long-term peace agreement that will return stability to Eastern Europe and hopefully ensure that such a terrible war will never happen on European soil or, for that matter, anywhere again. It's a horrible thing that's going on. The disaster in Ukraine shows exactly why it's so important for the United Kingdom and other NATO partners to make large investments in their defense capabilities. In many cases, 4% or 5% of GDP would be appropriate. I know that they're raising it. I just read an article, a great article, about the work you're doing in the UK as to the military. You're raising it quite a bit, which is a great thing to do for your country. It's a great thing to do. It's sad that we need that, but probably need that. So congratulations on that. I know you got it through. After years of chronic underfunding, there's an urgent need to catch up for some countries. And I want to thank the Prime Minister once again for traveling here today. Working together, I believe that we'll once again demonstrate the power of our country's unique friendship. This is indeed a unique friendship. It's been many years.
So unique.
And I think it's only gotten stronger, and we will make sure that it stays that way. We're going to have a great trade agreement. One way or the other, we're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries. And we're working on that as we speak. I think we'll have the confines. I think we'll have something maybe even in terms of possibilities agreed to very shortly. JD's working on it, Vice President, and Scott, and I'm just looking at this all from Mike. You're going to work on it. Everyone's going to work on it. We'll see if we can do something pretty quickly, but we're going to make some great trade agreements with the UK and with the Prime Minister, and it'll happen very quickly. So I just want to thank you again, and please thank King Charles for the invite, and I look forward to you giving our acceptance on behalf of the United States of America. Thank you very much, sir.
Cock.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your leadership. This has been a very...
Please acknowledge Canada. Everyone I know is afraid. We're right next to the USA. Chatters, Canadian chatters, I'm with you, okay? Anything that you do in an attempt to resist against the American empire, I'm with you all the way. You have every right.
It was so good to see the bust of Winston Churchill back in its rightful place just a moment ago. But look, in a moment of real danger around the world, this relationship matters more than ever. We remain
I
each
can't
other's
believe I have such a lame community. They're saying unmute Keir Starmer.
To the other's aid, to counter threats, wherever
I never thought we would get to this point where my own community would say, please unmute Mr. Sir Keir Starmer. We want to hear what he has to say.
Countries have done more together to keep people safe. And in a few weeks, we mark VE Day, the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe. Britain and America fought side by side to make that happen. One of the greatest moments in our history. We stand side by side still today, and we're focused now on bringing an enduring end to the barbaric war in Ukraine. Mr. President, I welcome your deep and personal commitment to bring peace and to stop the killing. You've created a moment of tremendous opportunity to reach a historic peace deal, a deal that I think would be celebrated in Ukraine and around the world. That is the prize. But we have to get it right. There's a famous slogan in the United Kingdom from after the Second World War. That is that we have to win the peace. And that's what we must do now. Because it can't be peace that rewards the aggressor or that gives encouragement to regimes like Iran. We agree history must be on the side of the peacemaker, not the invader. So the stakes, they couldn't be higher. And we're determined to work together to deliver a good deal. We've discussed a plan today to reach a peace that is tough and fair, that Ukraine will help shape, that's backed by strength, to stop Putin coming back for more. I'm working closely with other European leaders on this, and I'm clear that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal, working together with our allies, because that is the only way that peace will last. Mr. President, in this new era, you're also right that Europe must step up. And let me tell you now, I see the growing threats we face.
I love that he says he's not on the side of invaders when he went to Cyprus and celebrated the British Royal, the British Air Force giving surveillance data to Israel to, you know, strike Palestinian targets.
We're already one of the biggest spenders in NATO, and now we're going much further, delivering Britain's biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. This isn't just talk, it's action, rebalancing the transatlantic alliance, making us all stronger, and standing up for our shared values and shared security, as Britain always has. And Mr. President, it's no secret we're from different political traditions, but there's a lot that we have in common. We believe it's not taking part that counts. What counts is winning. If you don't win, you don't deliver. And we're determined to deliver for the working people of Britain and America, who want and deserve to see their lives improve. So we're both in a hurry to get things done, and that's what the UK and US do when we work together. We win and we get things done. So we'll do what it takes to keep our people safe. We'll also work together to deliver some big economic wins that can benefit us both. We have a $1.5 trillion invested in each other's economies, creating over 2.5 million jobs across both economies. Our trading relationship is not just strong, it's fair, balanced, and reciprocal. We're leaders together in so many areas, ranked 1 and 2 in the world as investment destinations, 1 and 2 for universities, 1 and 2 for Nobel Prizes, 1 and 2 in golf as well, by the way. And we're the only 2 Western countries with trillion-dollar tech sectors, leaders in AI. And look, we take a similar approach on this issue. Instead of over-regulating these new technologies, we're seizing the opportunities that they offer. So we've decided today to go further, to begin work on a new economic deal with advanced technology at its core. Look, our 2 nations together shaped the great technological innovations of the last century. We have a chance now to do the same for the 21st century. I mean, artificial intelligence could cure cancer. That could be a moonshot for our age. And that's how we'll keep delivering for our people.
We've basically given up on everything. That's why these guys keep talking about like moonshot cancer research or whatever. Like, yeah, oh, our collaborative efforts are gonna fucking bring about a cure for cancer. I promise. This is weirdly enough a brandonification of all global leaders. Remember, he said that too. Brandon was like, "We're gonna cure AIDS and cancer."
The King, not only sending his best wishes, but also inviting the President and the First Lady to make a state visit to the United Kingdom. An unprecedented second state visit. This has never happened before.
Why no world leaders?
It's so incredible, it will be historic. And I'm delighted that I can go back to His Majesty the King.
Why no world leaders standing up to Trump? Because he's Trump, dude.
So thank you. Our teams will now work together to set a date, and we look forward to welcome you in the United Kingdom.
Because he's America. What do you mean?
Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful accent. I would have been president 20 years ago if I had that accent.
That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Another handshake.
Okay, let's see here. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier today, you told me that you believe that foreign countries pay tariffs, but Americans who are concerned about higher prices believe, as most people do, that they're paid by consumers and importers when they import things into this country. Can you explain how you came to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs. And for the Prime Minister, did you discuss with President Trump his repeated statements of desire to annex Canada? And has the King expressed any concern over the President's apparent desire to remove one of his realms from his control?
So I'll go ahead. The first part, the tariffs are necessary because we've been treated very unfairly by many, many countries, including our friends, friend and foe. But we've been treated very unfairly in trade.
Everyone's so unfair
at levels
to us.
that nobody's really ever seen before.
The global
especially under
superpower.
the Biden administration, they really
The
took
global
advantage of the
superpower.
United States.
Everyone's so unfair to us, even though
Put
we've
massive
dominated the
tariffs on
world.
China during my 4 years. We had the best economy in the history of our country. Probably the best economy, maybe the best economy in the history of the world. And I used tariffs to even things up. And in particular with China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. And it's a myth. It's a myth that's put out there by foreign countries that really don't like paying tariffs, and especially to even up. So we've been treated badly by a lot. We're using tariffs. And I find, and you just have to look at the numbers, but I find that it's not about inflation. It's about fairness. And the inflation for us has not existed. And I don't think it's going to exist. We're going to bring our car industry back. We're going to bring our chips back. We're going to bring so many things back to our country, including pharmaceuticals and drugs. And the thing that's going to get us there is tariffs. And I say often it's my favorite word in the dictionary, but I always preface that by saying now, because I got into a lot of trouble with the fake news where they say that's not good. So I say God, love, family, wife.
What?
Number
Is he
4
okay?
or 5 on the list. But I will tell you, it's going to make our country rich, and it's going to stop us from being a laughing stock all over the world because we have been taken advantage of like no country has ever been taken advantage of. Thank you very much. And
Look, we had a really good discussion, a productive discussion, a good discussion, as a result of which our teams are now going to be working together on an economic deal. Our teams are going to be working together on security in Ukraine. You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't
that's
discuss
enough.
Canada.
Thank you. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, Natasha Clark from
Hi.
LBC.
Yeah,
Mr.
why no
President,
answer to the Canada
a
question?
Trade deal with Britain, which we of course welcome. President Obama once said Britain was at the back of the queue for that trade deal. Where are we now? When do you think we're going to see that? And Prime Minister, the BBC has today admitted serious flaws over the recent Gaza coverage, suggestions of payments made to people linked to Hamas. Does the BBC still have your trust? Thank you.
Well, they didn't do well with President Obama. He'd never got a lot of things done, and he didn't get a trade deal done that was of any importance or magnitude. We've had great discussions on trade, and I think we're going to have a deal done rather quickly as it can be done. We're going to have something, I think, rather quickly. We expect to do that. Okay? Please.
On the BBC, look, I've been concerned about the programme in question. The Secretary of State had a meeting with the BBC. I think it was yesterday, it could have been the day before. Thank you.
Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Pardon me. Mr. President, do you support Article 5 of the NATO treaty? And are you concerned that it might be triggered if European peacekeeping forces end up in Ukraine?
I support it. I don't think we're going to have any reason for it. I think we're going to have
You
a
doing
very
okay, man?
successful
No.
peace.
I don't think anyone is
And
doing
I think it's going to be
okay.
a long-lasting peace, and I think it's going to happen hopefully quickly. If it doesn't happen quickly, it may not happen at all. And we want it for 2 reasons. Number one, I want to see on a humane basis, I want to see soldiers stop getting shot, because largely it's soldiers now. Towns have been obliterated, but it's largely that. And I don't want to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars, nor does the Prime Minister or anybody else, on a senseless war that should have never happened. And we're going to get it taken care of. But I think it's going to be a peace that's going to be long-lasting. Do you have a question for the Prime Minister?
Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, you were asking the President today about a backstop for Europe if the peacekeeping force ends up in Ukraine. Did you feel like you got a satisfying answer for yourself and for Europe? And Mr. President, if you want to comment on that as well, please do.
I felt we had a very productive discussion. Obviously, as the President says, the deal has to come first. But yes, our teams are going to be talking about how we make sure that deal sticks, is lasting and enforced. So our teams will be talking about that.
Okay. Please, Blue.
Mr. President, some experts think it could take more than a decade to mine the precious minerals from Ukraine. How much should the U.S. expect to receive, and when do you expect to see that come to fruition?
Well, we're never going to know that answer, but by our being in Ukraine and doing the exploration and also the digging and taking the rare earth, which we need in our country very badly, we'll be doing a substantial amount of work, probably about at least what we have in there, and we hope to be able to do that. You never know when it comes to that. You know, you dig and maybe things aren't there like you think they're there, but we'll be spending a lot of time there. It'll be great for Ukraine. It's like a huge economic development project, so it'll be good for both countries. Okay? Please.
Prime Minister, excuse me, Prime Minister, you've talked about putting British soldiers' boots on the ground in Ukraine.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the event that President Trump succeeds with his peace deal. But can you do that without a firm assurance that America will have our back in the form of some kind of security guarantee were Putin to breach that agreement? And Mr. President, tomorrow you're seeing President Zelensky to sign this deal on minerals and energy that could be hugely important to the United States. Will you take the opportunity to apologize to him for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin,
Drama.
who is a dictator?
Well, Robert, let me start by saying I've been really clear today and
Drama. I mean,
that,
I guess like this is the only type of fucking response we're gonna
the
get.
United Kingdom need to step up.
Trump
in
doesn't
our
like
own
it. Look at his
defense
face.
And security. We've been doing that in recent days. You saw the announcement we made on spending.
I think you know what's funny. I'm gonna go along with the Krasnov Trump is a KGB agent memes because like the most extensive mineral maps on Ukraine come from the USSR. Okay, like USSR surveys. So maybe they gave it to him in the fucking 80s as the KGB asset that he was, and that's why he's like, I am Krasnov, sleeper cell for USSR. I need access to USSR mineral map. I have USSR mineral map of Ukraine in my penthouse. I know there is rare earth mineral.
Will be a lasting deal. And coming out of this, our teams will now be talking in detail about that.
And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow, 11 o'clock. And
I like that they never answer the dictator shit. Come on, man.
We're going to get along really well, okay? We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for them. We've given them a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, no matter how you figure it. They have really fought. Somebody has to use that equipment, and they have been very brave in that sense. Yeah, please, go ahead.
The ceasefire deal is nearing an end this
No
Saturday.
answer to the dictator thing.
There's been some worry that phase 2 might never get there. Do you believe that phase 2 of the ceasefire in Gaza will come to fruition? And have you spoken to Netanyahu about it? And for the Prime Minister, this peacekeeping deal has been pushed forward by the UK and France as well. Have you been in discussions with any other European countries to join this initiative? And are you expecting Commonwealth countries to also join the effort? Thank you.
So we're working very hard in the Middle East and Gaza and all of the problems, and it's been going on for years and
he's working
centuries
very
and
hard.
centuries.
That's why he made the
It's,
AI video.
it's
He
a
posted
tough
the AI video.
neighborhood, but it could be a very beautiful neighborhood, and I think we're going to come up with some pretty good solutions. But phase 1 is almost complete. We've had some people that have been very seriously injured, very seriously hurt, both physically and mentally. They've come out of there very, very, some of them in very, very bad shape. is shocking. Many young people aren't in bad shape. Young people are strong, healthy. They don't die. People have come out dead, young people and old people. It's a rough situation, but I think we're going to make it much better. And I think that we've had a huge impact on that since we've been in just the 4 weeks. I think we've had a huge impact on Gaza, the Middle East, and we have some pretty good talks going on concerning lots of other people that are going to make it better. So we'll see what happens. Nobody really knows, but we'll see what happens. But I think we've had a very positive impact. Prime Minister?
Yeah, on the question of...
very, very positive.
European countries. Yes, I've spoken to a number of countries, particularly in the last few weeks. We had a meeting in Paris last week. I've got a meeting on Sunday with 18 countries to further our discussions.
Let's see what Asmongold's chat is saying about this.
Talking quite intensely to our French
Let's take a peek on the other side
and to
see
NATO,
what the fuck is going on
to
there.
other countries as well, because, as I say, I think it's important for European countries, including the United Kingdom, to step up and do more in the defence and security of Europe and our continent and the United Kingdom, and we'll do so. Well, we're talking to a number of other countries.
Thank you. Yes, in the
Keir
red,
is
please.
awful, so wasted time for a
Pink
whole month.
red.
Understandable.
Flaming
Kamala
red.
version 2.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. A question on Ukraine. Number one is, if you're not considering the security guarantees, are you open to other forms of, for example, intelligence cooperation with Ukraine? And Mr. Prime Minister,
Okay.
President Trump
I didn't
has
think they'd be
proposed a plan
pro-Israel,
for
but
Gaza. Does this fit into the two-state solution that the UK held?
I didn't know Asmon watched this stuff, dude. Yes, Asmongold is literally the largest political content creator on this platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're open to many things, but before I even think about that, that's almost pleasant to think about because that would mean that peace has been arrived at. We have to arrive at that peace. And, you know, you went 3.5 years with an administration that never even really had a meeting. They didn't have a meeting on peace. And there was no prospect of peace. I think, frankly, Russia wanted to go through the whole long deal. I don't think they do anymore. I don't think they do. We had a very big impact on that whole situation. But I don't like talking about phase 2 until I get phase 1. Phase 1 is I have to make peace. And we have to get Russia to agree. We have to get Ukraine to agree. And I think we will. I think we've come a long way. I believe we're going to get it done. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think so. And I think it will be very important, very historic, and we're going to save a lot of lives.
On the question of Gaza, the last few weeks of the ceasefire have been very impactful. And for me, there are 2 images that I remember more than any other. The first is Emily Damari, who is British, being reunited with her mother. You may remember she had her fingers missing after what she endured. That was an incredible moment. I'd spent a lot of time with her mother whilst she was held captive, and her mother went through absolute torture. The other image was thousands of Palestinians marching through rubble, trying to return to their communities and their homes. So we have to do everything we can to ensure that the ceasefire continues, so that more hostages can be returned, so that aid can be brought in that's desperately needed. We need to allow Palestinians to return and to rebuild their lives, and we must all support them in doing that. And yes, I believe that the two-state solution is ultimately the only way for a lasting peace in the region.
And think of that. She came home with her fingers and part of her hand blown off.
That's terrible.
How bad does it get? And we had others that came home in much worse shape than that. Yeah. It's a terrible situation. Please, yes.
Starmer is a puppet reading a message he received on his phone, Lamau. He says that in front of Trump, yet imprisons anyone who dares say shit about criminals from the Middle East.
Did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK? And if I may, Prime Minister, do you think
interest
that
in
Vladimir
like
Putin
actually what the
is a
fuck
man
these
who
guys
will
are
keep his
saying,
word?
and everything is about the aesthetics. I feel like for these guys, they're just like hyper focusing on Keir Stalin saying a lot or being fake and phony.
They pay him over there. but he tried. I think there's a very good chance that in the case of these two great friendly countries, I think we could very well end up with a real trade deal where the tariffs wouldn't be necessary. We'll see. But he earned whatever they pay him. He earned today. He was working hard at lunch, and I'm very receptive to it. I think we, in all fairness, in all seriousness, I think we have a very good chance at arriving at a very good deal. JD and Scott and Howard, all the people are working on it, and I think we have a good chance at arriving at a deal that could be terrific, really terrific for both countries. Okay? Thank you.
On the second part of the question, I think my views on Putin are pretty well rehearsed and pretty well known. And my concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure. And that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you. And it's an honor to be with you, and I want to thank everybody very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
3 handshakes, baby. 3 of them. Kid Starmer got the triple handshake. Art of the deal, baby. Art of the deal. Yeah, I mean, I often find myself knowing less, like learning less about where America is most likely going to go in terms of foreign policy after these press conferences. It is truly unique the way that these guys can get up there and say so much and virtually say nothing. Like, it is wild. I feel like every time I hear a Trump press conference, I'm like, I'm more confused than before the press conference started. You know? Maybe I'm losing my critical thinking skills. I don't know. But it's just like it truly feels as though they're saying a lot and saying nothing at all at the same time. It seems like they're saying a lot, but they're actually saying nothing at all. But seemingly, the reason why I also like to look at what like Asmongold's chat is saying in this situation, because he's the largest content creator on this platform and has a massive community of people who are seemingly tuning in to get some right-wing commentary, is because I want to understand like what their attitude is, like what their takeaway is from this stuff. And unsurprisingly, I guess, it's usually just, you know, optics. Like they like that Trump is like dominating people, right? They like that Trump is dominating people. They think like Keir Starmer is a cuck, because he is. I mean, it is, that is true. He does do the like wishy-washy. He's basically Kamala, but, you know, English. And it's interesting because like Western foreign policy is all unified under the American direction, under the American umbrella. And that has been the case for a very long time. So it doesn't really matter what Keir Starmer says, just like, you know, the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in terms of the broader, in terms of the broader opinion is not that different. Trump is simply the great accelerator, right? He says the quiet part out loud, and he pushes the direction of foreign policy, the unified Western foreign policy, in the direction that it was supposed to go towards, but accelerates that process. How did EU become such cucks? I mean, they have been for a very long time. The European Union and this like allegiance has always been that way. Post World War II. It's all own the libs content with no idea the effects it'll have on them. It's all right-wing content is as of now. Yeah. So